For my whole life, it seems like I've been too much of something. I talk too much, I'm too sensitive, too aggressive, too timid, too soft. I let those words shape my identity and question my passion, always feeling like I needed to apologize for the space I took up with both my voice and my body. But now I realize it wasn't that I was too much, it's that the rooms were just too small. I'm Kaylee, a recovering self-critic, figure skating enthusiast, health and wellness advocate, and the official defender of your passion. Welcome to Reasonably Loud, the space where we stop apologizing for our muchness and start using it as our superpower. Let's dive in. Quick note before we begin. While I am a certified personal trainer and a certified intuitive eating counselor, I am not a doctor or a licensed medical professional. The information in this podcast is for educational purposes only and should not be taken as medical advice. Always consult with a qualified healthcare provider before making changes to your diet or exercise routine. Now, let's get into the show. I'm going to start out by admitting something very vulnerable, which is obviously very scary, but it also feels like the vulnerability is the reason why it needs to be shared. So here goes. I have only just recently really felt like I wanted to exercise. And when I say recently, I mean within the first 6 months of this year. Now, here's why this is so scary to admit. Because I've been a personal trainer for 11 years and I've owned my own business for 7. A business that is literally all about helping people work out consistently. It's also scary because I said things like this before. I have said to people, I finally figured out how to be consistent. I've been working out weekly for the last 6 months, just to find myself dropping off and going without a single workout for the following 6 months. And when I say workout, I mean a resistance training workout, not walks or other things, but specifically strength training. So yeah, it's a little bit scary to admit that I just started wanting to work out, that I have intentionally worked on creating more consistency in my strength training sessions yet again. And that is something I've continually struggled with on and off for years. There have been many times in the last 11 years that I would go months without lifting a single weight. True story. It's scary to say, but it's true. And here's what I've been learning. There's a difference between doing it because you think you should and actually wanting to do it. Shoulds set the stage for shame and imposter syndrome. Shoulds tell me that I'm a bad fitness professional because I struggle with making this a consistent habit and because I should have this figured out by now. Shoulds create a narrow laneway that is only satisfied with a certain outcome. Wanting is a completely different ballgame. Wanting creates a sandbox that allows me to create the habits and routines that I want. Wanting allows me to turn the dial up or down on what I can give to those routines in any given season of life. Shoulds create disconnection. Wanting creates connection. So what I've started to sense in myself is a shift away from should to want. Does that mean that I always love working out or that it's always my top priority? Of course not. What that shift in mindset has done for me is to create a safe and calm space to show up to. I don't know about you, but I don't love noisy, chaotic situations. I dread going into a circumstance that is dripping with expectation of how I'm supposed to act or look. The workout space has always been clouded with those expectations. It's always been about something other than simply showing up. It's been about getting smaller. It's been about looking like I have it all together. It's been about playing the part. And although the benefits of consistent fitness, as we know, extend far beyond those things, if the path is drowned in those expectations, that's a lot of mud to wade through on our way to getting those lasting benefits. It's a lot harder to want to do something when the path to get there is an emotional burden. When the inevitable drop off comes, or I'm forced to take time off, the shame and guilt only blockade the path and create even more of a barrier. Wanting, rather than shoulding, clears the path, flips the script, and makes space to create habits that we want with the flexibility that we need. This is something that I've only just recently learned, like embarrassingly recently. We're all going to get to this point in our relationship with exercise at different times and in different ways. And yes, we need to take responsibility for our role in the habits we create. But if the path is shrouded in guilt, shame, and expectations, who wants to willingly put themselves through that? That's why I'm so adamant about validating the struggle as not being our own fault or failure. Because if you walk into a room and you trip on barriers put there by the people who created that room, barriers that you weren't told were going to be there, is that your fault or theirs? If you trip on a barrier you didn't see, it's not your fault. But if you choose to stay in that room knowing that it's actively not working for you, well, I won't use the word fault, but I will say it's your own choice what you're going to do about it. That's the point of wanting. Wanting gives us choices. Diet culture makes us stay in the barrier-laden room. Neutrality and compassion allows us to find a room or a sandbox or a path, whatever image resonates with you, that works for us. It's scary to admit that I'm just starting to build a sandbox, that I'm just starting to utilize years of reading and research and observation and conversation in this way to help me land in a space that feels like a place that I want to work out in. I feel like I should have known this a long time ago. But that's why I practice grace. And I'm not sharing this to beat myself up. I'm sharing it so that you too can enter a space that is safe for you if you also struggle with feeling like you should do or be a certain way. And honestly, that's why the timing of this episode matters so much. As I'm writing this, I've already made the major announcement that this podcast is releasing within the next week. By the time it hits your streaming service, we're halfway through the summer. This is the summer finale. I'll take a break through August and I'll be back on your airwaves in September. Is airwaves the right phrase? I don't know. I am a millennial, so that is what we're going with. Getting to this point of 8 full episodes of this podcast is absolutely insane to me. And I will tell you something else that is scary to admit. It completely terrifies me. The fear of putting myself out there, of speaking plainly and passionately, the fear of saying things that I know represent a changed mind. I didn't always hold these beliefs and opinions. If I was a person from my past listening to this, I would probably roll my eyes and scoff because some of the beliefs and approaches I have now are completely opposite to things I've said and done before. Even though I know this message is where I'm most at peace with my body and my mind and my approach as a coach, putting it out there in this way has been so scary. And no matter how many things I try to help me, the fear is not going away. Now, I'm not a psychologist or a therapist. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I have this magical cure for getting rid of the fear. One of my goals for each of these episodes is not only to lay out the crap we've all been dealing with for years, but also hopefully give us some actionable steps towards a different option and a different way of looking at things. Handing you the shovel and bucket to build your own sandcastle of your health and wellness. But with this one, this fear thing, I will admit I don't have much to offer. So I'm just going to talk because that's what I do best. And I talk. And when I talk, sometimes things make more sense. Writing this podcast has been a remarkable experience for me so far. It has helped me put all of my thoughts and emotions onto paper and lay them all out there. It's helped me make sense of all the reading and exploring and observations that I've made over the past 3 or 4 years about intuitive eating and body neutrality and self-compassion. It's been incredibly healing, if it's okay to go that deep with it. It's also been very nerve-wracking. What if something I say is wrong? What if it's too blunt? What if someone takes offense? Sometimes in the self-help sphere with books and the like,
I make the assumption that the author has mastered the issue that they're tackling. The ones that are like 10 steps to a more productive life, how to make the most of your mornings, how not to yell at your kids in the middle of summer vacation when you're overstimulated by the 15th door slam in 5 minutes. The inference is that the authors have somehow magically figured out how to do those things and they practice them and live them.
But I'm just a human being.
I make mistakes. I say the wrong things at the wrong time. I misread situations. I make jokes when I shouldn't. I haven't figured out how to be a patient parent. I know I've dropped the ball so many times on being a supportive friend. There are many things I wish I could take back or make different.
And even though I've made strides in terms of inserting self compassion into the guilt, it's difficult for me to sit in front of this microphone, presenting my voice to you as if I have it all figured out, because I promise you I don't.
I'm just a girl sitting in front of a mic asking you to join her in this exploration of grace. Grace is about safety. Something I recently realized was that safety is a crucial component for life. When we don't feel safe, our bodies end up in fight or flight. Our cortisol increases, our digestion slows, our radar is at full power. It is natural and necessary. It's our body's way of protecting us. When we are in survival mode for whatever reason, we can only focus on what we need to do to survive in that moment. There's not much room for other things when we're fighting for our lives. But here's the kicker, that fight or flight mode, also known as the sympathetic nervous system, is not easily swayed to release. And if it does, it's at the ready for the next instance it senses we're in danger. Safety is a big part of allowing our bodies to switch to the parasympathetic nervous system, or the rest and digest mode. When we feel safe and we're not fighting for our lives, there is room for other things. I remember a couple summers ago, I had a major anxiety flare up. I was absolutely paralyzed by germs and driving. If I had to go out, I would come home and ruminate over the entire car ride. Did I hit that person and not realize? Did I stop too close to the white line? Was I going too fast down that street? I would just sit on the couch and replay it over and over. I couldn't do anything else. I was constantly distracted, even when I tried to. I was disconnected from my kids, my surroundings. I often look back at that summer and see only a black cloud over the whole thing. Thankfully, therapy and medication helped me to come out of the cloud, but the intensity of the anxiety I experienced was absolutely paralyzing. It stole my presence and my joy. It robbed me of my safety in my own mind. I'm so grateful for my friends and my family and my doctors who worked with me to slowly bring me out of that shadow. Even though those fears are not as debilitating as they used to be, when I start to feel anxious about something, I can feel my nervous system start to ramp up. And I have to utilize the tools that I've been given to ease myself back into that safe place. When I was deep in the thick of anxiety, working out was not even on my radar. All I cared about was trying to convince myself that I hadn't hit somebody with my car or spread germs on the day trip to the zoo with my kids. I was also not recognizing my hunger cues. I knew I needed to eat, and so I would, but there was very little satisfaction, and it felt more like a chore than a joy. I knew when I would start to come out of the wave of anxiety because all of a sudden I was starving. But exercise was not on my mind at all, I can tell you that much as exercise has shown me to be helpful in easing anxiety, I was not in any mental state to even get there. Doing a workout during that time felt like I was just ignoring the problems my brain kept telling me I had to deal with. If someone had sat me down and said you need to exercise, I would not have listened to a single word. When exercising doesn't feel safe, it is not something you actively want to do. Lack of safety can come from many places. Not liking how your body looks or feels, the sensation of sweat or sore muscles might be uncomfortable, perhaps a history of being yelled at or not listened to, or even just seeing others being yelled at. Biggest loser, anyone? Movement can stir so many emotions. I remember one time years ago, I was working with a trainer and I started crying during the workout because I was feeling so defeated by the expectations of nutrition and fitness that I'd set for myself. She gave me some generic advice and then aptly said, "Please don't cry, it freaks me out." She did not create a very safe space for me to express and feel something that was very real and deeply troubling for me. Years later, when I was working with a different trainer, A friend of the family had unexpectedly passed away only a few days before one of my sessions with her. I was I wasn't going to tell her. I didn't want to bring that into our space. But regardless, as soon as I started moving, the floodgates opened and I started bawling, and I told her about the pain of the loss. So I simply just cried, and she let me cry, and she gently coached me through some movement because we both knew that's exactly what I needed at that moment. She empathized with me, and she created a safe place for me to feel and to move. I'll never forget it. Human beings are not robots. We may not all emote or process in the same way, but we are not automated either. Expectations, fear, and safety are all realities that we face in different ways at different times. Is the goal to overcome them? Is the goal to wade through them? Is the goal to avoid them? I don't know. I can tell you that I've tried all three approaches over the years, and sometimes they've helped and other times not.
How, what, and when we process is not something I can talk about in this capacity. That is a very personal journey for you and a trusted professional.
But what I can attest to is that when it comes to exercise, nutrition, health, and well being, connecting to all the facets of the human experience matters. Our health is multidimensional. It's not static and it doesn't have one ultimate look or feel. It's influenced by myriad pieces both in and out of our control. We can't control how other people respond to things we put out in the world, but we can control what we put out and how we respond ourselves. We can't control a culture that is obsessed with restriction and punishment, but we can control how we choose to move and eat for ourselves. We can no longer control what has been done or said in the past, but we can decide how to step into the future. Let's be real. The fear of public scrutiny is still right here. I'm stepping up to this mic with a voice that has been labeled as too much for a very long time. Maybe that fear will always be here. But as long as I know there is someone who is in the same boat, or at least in the same sea with me, and we can help each other by navigating the waters together, I think it's worth it to keep going. As humans, we are more alike than we are different, and that connection is essential to helping us thrive. Finding the people who support, challenge, and uplift you through it all, as well as giving yourself the same support through curiosity, respect, and grace. I see you. I am with you. I am rooting for you to build an authentic health that reflects your worth as a person. Because you are more than a body, more than a fad, more than a passing trend. You are loved, you are valued, and you deserve safety and compassion. Thank you so much for joining me today. If something resonated with you in this episode, I would love to hear from you. You can follow me on Instagram at Coach Kaylee B, that's CoachKayleeb, or on Facebook at KB Fitness Plus Wellness. Have an amazing rest of your summer, and I'll talk to you soon.